What you will need to paint this painting. Colors: titanium white, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, mountain mix, dark sienna, Van Dyke brown, sap green, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. Okay, let's paint this. First thing we're going to do is going to pick up a 2-inch brush, come up, get a little alizarin crimson, come right up to the canvas. Now this is a 16 by 20 inch canvas, already covered with liquid white. And with the alizarin crimson on the 2-inch brush, we're just going to touch it around in the sky and down in the bottom what we're going to call water. Just very little bit. You can be conservative with it. It does not take a lot of this. Next we're going to come up, we're going to pick up a little phthalo blue on the same brush. I want to come up in the corners first with a little X strokes. Always want your corners darker. It pulls your eye into the center. Using little X strokes, we want to come across the top. And as we work this color in, we just want to kind of work it around our crimson spots. We don't want to cover all of them up. We want to leave as many as we can. And that way we'll have a little interest in our sky. So once you get your brush loaded back up, come back up to the canvas and just using those same little X strokes, just fill in the whole sky, and then we'll come down and fill in the whole water area too. Now in the water area, we want to pull our color in from the sides in toward the middle, trying to keep these as level as possible, because when we come in to add our water, we do know that still water lies flat, so we want to keep this as level as possible. Also keep in mind that once you work up, your color is going to get lighter as it mixes with the liquid white toward the horizon. Like in the sky, coming down, it'll get lighter toward the horizon as it mixes with the liquid white. So now all we're doing is just bringing in the color from the sides, and then once we get all of this done, we'll come back up and we'll just start lightly blending. Long horizontal strokes. We just want to gently blend across the sky, making sure that we do not kill all the alizarin crimson that we put in. Like I said, those will be pretty good actions in our sky for us. Now we'll come down. We'll do the same thing in the water, starting in the light area first, and coming down to the darker color. Just long horizontal strokes, no pressure, just lightly blend. Just lightly blend these colors together, as you can see. Then we'll pick up a fan brush. We'll load it up with titanium white with just a tiny speck of red on it. And we'll load the fan brush up on both sides. Once we get the fan brush loaded, we'll come up in the sky, making little round circles. That's all we're doing. Just little round circles. Keep that brush moving. Anytime you're making clouds, it's real important to keep the brush moving. You run out of paint, just reload, come back up. Little small circles, keep the brush moving. and we'll create some clouds in the day sky. Carry that one right off the canvas, come back down, load up again, and we'll come up here to the other side, still making little circles, keeping the brush moving. The trick to making clouds is keeping that brush moving. If you stop and let it sit in one spot too long, it'll start looking like a cotton ball. And I know that's not what you're looking for. Okay, so just like that, we already got two. You don't have to put many clouds in the sky, so we're just gonna add a couple more, maybe one up top here. Same way, just keep the brush moving. And then we'll get a little more paint. We'll come over here on this other side and we'll add a little small one. Little straggler. Bob used to call these little doers. We'll add one of those over there. And again, just keep the brush moving. That's the trick. Now with a 2-inch brush, we're gonna come up and start gently blending out the bottoms. Try to stay out the top if you can, and just try to keep that corner of that brush working in small circles in the bottom. Leave them tops real white and fluffy. It'll look like the sun setting them that way. And we're just going to come across the bottom of every one of them we just made and just real lightly blend out the bottoms. Real lightly. Now, even the little ones, once you get them blended out, you want to come back up using that same 2-inch brush and just fluff the clouds up. Just pulling in from the bottom, giving them a light sweep up. And then once you do that, just lightly blend across, and that'll just set them right down into the sky. Now if you got a couple areas that just didn't blend out right, just come back up real lightly, hypnotize them with that brush. Now we'll pick us up a knife. And with that knife, we want to come down. Today we're going to mix up some blue color. We're going to have a little of the mountain mix, a little of the blue, and we add a little white. Looking for kind of a bluish, light bluish gray color. Because I think in this sky, I think that'll be a real pretty color to use as a mountain base. So we'll just mix these colors together until we get, like I said, it's just going to be like a light blue, grayish blue color. Then we'll pull that color out as flat as we can get it. That's important. Just pull it out as flat as you can get it. Get that little roll of paint and come up using a lot of pressure. Really push that paint into the fabric. You can tell I'm using quite a bit of pressure here. Try to keep your outside edges clean. Keep your pretty straight, clean line. That's, to me, that just makes the mountain look a little better. And just keep a lot of pressure. Really pushing that paint into the canvas here. Just work that outside line. That's all we're worried about right now. We're not worried about anything inside the middle. Come back up on this other side over here and just work it out and try to keep your peaks to where they're not all the same height. You know, try to make one higher than the other and one lower than the other, and just basically make your little small mountain shape up here. Then take that same 2-inch brush and come in and blend down and out, just pulling that color out, getting as close to the line as you can without going out of it. Just reach in, pull it down, and pull it out. That's all you got to do. Just pull that color out, trying to get as much of it out of there as you can. Just like so. Then once you get enough of the color pulled out that you're happy with it, just gently blend across the bottom. And it'll already make your mountain just look like it's floating in thin air. Just by lightly blending out the bottom. Okay, now with titanium white on a knife, we want to come up, just no pressure, just lightly pull that color down. Just letting it pull off that knife and letting it break. As you pull down, just very, very softly, just barely letting that paint touch the canvas. Just pulling down, little at a time. And you can see the paint just breaks right off the knife so easy. Start in the top of the peaks and just barely pull that paint down. No pressure. Bob said when he was teaching his son Steve how to do this, he told him just be a whisper. Just come across the the mountains like you were a whisper. And that's a pretty good way to look at it, really, because it's such a light touch. There's no pressure on that knife at all. And that paint's good and thick and dry, so it just pulls off and just sticks. And the lighter you pull it, the more it breaks. And that's all we're going to do across this entire mountain range, is we're just going to come up into the peak, very lightly pull down all the way across. Just keep telling yourself, no pressure, no pressure. It helps me if I keep repeating it. I know that may sound crazy, but it kind of does. All right, now we're at the main peak. We're going to do it the same way. Just come up, barely touch, barely pulling down, no pressure, no pressure. Just let that paint slowly pull off that knife. The knife isn't actually touching the canvas. All that's touching the canvas right now is the paint. And you can see it's just pulling right off the knife. No pressure. And then we'll just work it back off to the side over here. Give our mountain a little shape. Give it a little attitude. Now by adding just a little bit more paint to that area, it'll just lighten it up. But you can see how that white just got that whole side lit up like the sun's hitting it. Now add a little more white to the color. We're going to use that for our shadow side. Using just a little small edge of the knife, we want to come up and do it the same way as we did when we was making the mountain. Get on those outside edges and try to stay inside the line. Try not to get outside the line. If you do, it's going to make your mountain want to grow. But just using real light touches, we want to come in and just add a little of that color, making sure we pull it in the opposite direction, making sure that we leave some of the dark area. We don't want to kill all the dark. And that will give us just about all the shadow we need on that one side. Okay, now we want to use our 2-inch brush. We want to come up. We want to gently tap out the bottom, working in the same directions that our highlights are coming down. We want to work up the same direction. Gently tap across the bottom and up into the mountain just a little bit. Just enough to dilute the bottom. You don't want to destroy it. You just want to barely just dilute it just a little bit. This will give us that mist we're looking for. Real gentle taps. And we'll do the same thing in the shadow side. When we get to it, we're just going to tap it down in the same direction as it came up. And then real gently, pull that color up, and that'll remove all the tap strokes. Just barely pulling it up. Try to keep all of that inside the mountain, and then blend the bottom out. Okay, next with a fan brush, we want to mix some mountain mix together with a little sap green. Just mix those colors together right on the brush. Load the brush up. Then come up with the corner of the brush. Just lightly tap and pull down. This is what we call the little tappy trees. And all that is using the top corner of the brush, the fan brush. You want to just come up, lightly tap, and pull down. Keep the brush loaded with paint. Just lightly tap and kind of pull the brush down a little as you do. And we'll just put us a little distant tree line all the way across the bottom. Okay, now with a 2-inch brush, come up with a lot of pressure this time. We want to just tap real hard across the bottom. and just blend out the bottom of all of those trees we just made. And like I said, you can see I'm really hitting that canvas pretty hard right now. So this is your chance to get some revenge on the painting. Just tap across, a lot of pressure. Want to create that little mist down at the bottom. Then we're going to pick our fan brush back up and load it back up with the color. Now we want to come up here. We want to add some a little bit closer trees. And we're just going to take, we want to add maybe, I don't know, I may put in about 3. But we just want to come up a little bit taller and just create some evergreens. And these will look closer to us and they'll push the other little tree line back. Okay, next we're gonna grab a half round brush. We're gonna come up here in the sap green and we'll add a little of the mountain mixture to that. We're just looking for a good dark color. Just tap the colors right on the brush. Get it loaded with paint. Then we want to just come up here to the canvas and we want to start tapping on some little bush shapes and little tree shapes. Just want to be careful not to cover up all of the little metal that we just made. Just keep the brush loaded with paint. Just tapping on little bush shapes and tree shapes. That's all we're doing. A lot of tapping. Work your way down the little metal, trying to stay at the bottom of it so we don't get covered all of it up. Want to come to the other side now, and all we're going to do on this side is just tap little bushes, little tree shapes. But on this side, we probably won't come up quite as high as we did on the other side. But it's just tap, tap, tap. Whole lot of tapping in this process. Titanium white. We'll we'll come up here and just start adding that color to the front. And you can already see now that by adding a highlight color, it's starting to show a whole lot better. Now you can start to see the cabin just showing up almost like magic. We'll just keep filling that color in with highlight now. And on the side, we want it to be a little darker because the sun's not going to make it to that side. And just like that, our cabin will magically appear. Now we'll add a little bit of Van Dyke brown to that color, just to make it darker for the sides, because that's going to be our side that's in shadow. So we want it to be just a little bit darker. All right, next we're going to add just a little bit of red to that color, and just come up and just lightly tap that color on the roof. Just real light tapping. Just let the knife just gently touch the top of the roof and just work your way down, and just let the paint pull off the knife, using no pressure, just real light taps, and just add that color right to the roof. Now with a small roll of white paint, we want to come up and just touch the eaves. Just add a little bit of highlight and make it look like the sun's coming across, hitting the outer part of the cabin. Plus that'll help it stand out a little, let it be seen better. Now with a good dark color, we'll come up, add him a little door so he can get in and out of the cabin. Okay, with just a tiny amount of the light blue color, we want to come up and just add a little bit on the sides. And this will look like glass, represent a window so we can see in and out of our little cabin. Okay, next we're going to take our oval brush with a little bit of the yellow and sap green, and we're just going to come up and start highlighting all our trees and bushes. Now during this process, we're just going to be real careful not to kill all the dark, and using just tiny amounts of pressure, just tapping that highlight color right on the trees. And we also want to change this color up as often as we can during this process. By changing colors, we'll get separation, and that'll add depth to our painting. Just remember, don't kill all the dark. Okay, we're just going to keep changing colors. Every now and then going into the reds, all the yellows, the green, alizarin crimson, just changing up the colors. That's all we're doing. Keep the brush loaded. Ooh, look at that little firecracker. There we go. Alright, we need to bring some color down in the water too. Let's don't forget to do that. And these will serve as our reflections a little later on in the painting. Alright, you can see how we're doing this. We're just changing the color, keeping it about the same fall theme, and just come down, and when you get down to the bottom, add a little of that color into the water, and we'll use that as our reflection. So mainly in this painting, there was a whole lot of tapping. So if you're not scared to tap, you can paint this painting right here. It's not real hard to do at all. Okay, now with a 2-inch brush, we want to come up and just barely pull these colors down. Real light touch. You're almost not even touching the canvas. Just barely touching that paint. And each time you do, just wipe that paint off, come back up and pull it down. One of the main things here is to remember, just pull the color down straight. Very light touch and straight. That's all you need to do right here. Then once you get all these colors pulled down, you'll come back across real soft from the outside in. Just come across it real gentle. And just like that, you got instant reflections. Okay, now with a 1-inch brush loaded with sap green and cad yellow, we want to come up and just start lightly tapping in this dark area, just under the bushes, trying to leave a little dark area too. Just tap that yellow and green on, and that's going to be an indication of the little soft tappy grass like we made back in the meadow earlier. And all we're going to do right here is just tap the grass on. Little light taps, that's all we're doing. And just bring it down to the water. That's all you got to do. Little light taps and just bring it down to the water. And once you get all the grass done, with just a little bit more of the white mixed into that color, you come up and just touch a few areas, give it that brightness to make it look like that sun is shining just in a few spots. Now don't do this in a lot of areas. If you do, it'll kill the effect. You just want to do this in very light areas. Okay, our last step, we'll come up with a palette knife and just put some little indications of water lines over here under these trees around the bank. Like you're just trying to cut through that canvas. Just bring that white paint around. Just remember, right in here, you just want to keep this level. Keep your knife as level as you can. Bob used to say, if it's not level, you got to put a bucket on one side to catch all the water when it runs out of your painting. So try to keep it level if you can. Alright, now a signature in the frame, that's all we need. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please subscribe. Thank you.